My friends, should pausing be banned in speedrunning? It sounds like a simple enough question, however, it's anything but that. Pausing, as you'll see, can mean a swath of different things to different people in different games, and this discussion has been at the core of numerous speed games recently. So today we'll look at pausing the timer in full game speedruns, the idea of segmented speedruns, and pausing in single level or time trial speedruns. Here we go!
Here we go!
This discussion broadly might be centered around The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. As anyone who has played the game knows, it's a pretty big game, and a 100% speedrun requires you to collect all 900 Korok seeds for starters, along with 76 side quests, 120 shrines, and, well, pretty much everything else in the game. Obviously, this is a huge challenge, and I doubt many would be surprised to learn the world record in this category is right around 20 hours long. That's a pretty long time to stay up gaming consecutively, and is prohibitive for most, meaning many people who might be interested in running Breath of the Wild 100% simply never will. However, the runners of the game have agreed to make this a little more accessible, allowing 2 breaks of up to 18 hours total during the run. So that's right, you can start your speedrun, play for 7 hours, pause your timer, take a 9-hour break to sleep, play for another 7 hours, pause your timer again, take another 9-hour break, and then come back and finish the speedrun. This concept, pausing the real timer to go have a break and come back later, is banned or disallowed in most other real-time attack speed games. But should it be? There are a number of arguments on either side. Some against allowing timer pauses suggest that these super long categories should be records only for the extreme speedrunner, in the same way as an ultra-marathoner running 100 miles or someone climbing Mount Everest as quickly as possible are feats reserved for only the paramount examples of endurance, mental, or physical aptitude. A nearly day-long category in speedrunning is the speedrun equivalent of such an epic challenge, and makes it all the more impressive and awe-inspiring. However, proponents of the pause your timer and take a break methods simply suggest that the game would be impractical to speedrun were this not allowed. Only those able to regularly dedicate entire days of their time entirely to speedrunning would ever be able to even consider competing in such a category. And not only that, but gaming for 20 hours consecutively is known to risk health consequences, as we've seen numerous times throughout history. Given that you, the viewer, are the type to get your fill of speedrunning content through watching YouTube videos rather than speedrunning yourself, you likely understand the implausibility of finding 4, 5, or 6 hours in a row to speedrun, never mind the 10 or 20 required for a Breath of the Wild 100% run. However, once more on the other side of the coin, if you don't have the time, freedom, or ability to regularly attempt 20-hour speedruns, you could always just choose another game or category to run. So that's the gist of it. Ultimately, I'm not a Breath of the Wild speedrunner, and opinions in speedrunning are usually reserved for those who play the game, so long as they all enjoy what they're doing, that's all excellent. But what if you want to speedrun a game other than Breath of the Wild, and it's too long for you to find the time to sit down and do it? And let's say this game doesn't allow you to pause the timer. Then what? Well, here's a form of speedrunning that has long slumbered, a form that allows you to pause not just once or twice in an 18-hour period, but one that really allows you to pause and break absolutely whenever you like. Yes, indeed, a form of speedrunning which I think is long overdue to be brought back: segmented speedruns. Segmented speedruns are really the original way of speedrunning, back when even recording 1 or 2 hours in a row was a challenge. You'd play through a section of a game, say the first 10 minutes, repeat that until you got a segment you were happy with, and then carry on doing this for the entire game. For example, I fondly remember this classic speedrun from July 2005, Majora's Mask in 3 hours 37 minutes by PYH189, done in 18 segments. His segments were about, on average, 12 minutes long. You can see here, after opening the Woodfall Temple, PYH talks to an owl, saving the game, ending one segment. And then we pick up as the game restarts, beginning another segment. PYH spends the next 13 minutes completing the Woodfall Temple, then soars to an owl, saves again, thus ending that segment. He could copy over the first file into the spare slot and then attempt the Woodfall Temple segment as many times as he wanted over the course of as many days as he wanted until ready to move on and continue the run. This mode of speedrunning means pretty much anyone with free time to speedrun can complete a run, and the runs become these sort of epic works, whittled away at over the course of several weeks, restarting and refining each segment until you're ready to move on. Like carving a sculpture out of clay or marble. In a way, it's almost like building a tool-assisted speedrun, but on console. People have made what are called human theory TAS videos, splicing humanly performed segments together to show what a theoretical lowest time might be performed by a human. For example, this 1:32:55 in Super Mario 64 120 star from a couple years ago, as opposed to the tool-assisted run of 1 hour 20 minutes, and opposed to the world record in the 1:38s today. And while this is cool to see some human pieces put together from multiple speedrunners, I think it would be really cool to see one single top Super Mario 64 runner spend a few weeks grinding out a segmented 120 star run, playing piece by piece, star by star, and then assembling it all together to make a 134 or 135. It'd be a breath of fresh air for some runners who want to take a break from the pressure of single segment runs, and it's really just a type of speedrunning that I'd like to see get brought back. And yeah, you can pause and end the segment whenever you want without affecting your overall time, which makes it the perfect form of speedrunning for those who don't have multiple uninterrupted hours daily to dedicate to speedrunning. By the way, one of the most classic segmented speedruns is this Wind Waker run in 6 hours 42 minutes in 22 segments by Michael TSA Damiani, a Zelda speedrun pioneer. It used to be hosted on Speed Demo's archive, but was removed after it was discovered that this run was spliced. Which makes you wonder, why splice the run when he could have just added another segment? But anyhow, I can't seem to find this run anywhere on YouTube, only this fragment of the run remains. I've seen rumblings that it might be hosted on Nico Video, but I'm no master at navigating that site. So if anyone is able to dig it up and post it in the comments or otherwise send it this way, that would be greatly appreciated. The run is a part of speedrun history, and it'd be terrible to see it lost to the void of the internet if it hasn't been already. Alright, so segmented speedruns are a great solution for those who want to pause their timers in full game speedruns. But what about pausing in single level or time trial scenarios? This question has become a topic of discussion in the Mario Kart 64 community lately. In that game, the records are scored naturally as per the in-game timer. But here's the thing, pausing doesn't slow you down or otherwise mess up your timer. So you could pause before or after every difficult trick during the run to gather your composure, calm your nerves, wipe sweat off your hands, answer a phone call, bring your barking dog inside, or even possibly practice the trick or section of track on another console just to make sure you have it down pat. Pausing does seem to make it easier to hit super mini turbos, especially on straightaways, and nailing as many of these as possible is an integral part of time trialing in this game. As it currently stands, a pause or two during a time trial record does not make the run invalid, but it's not something that's been overused or abused yet, and so it's a good time to discuss what to do about pausing before something happens in-game to make it a more sensitive situation. Because while pausing 100 times on a Mario Kart track might not break any current rules, it would be annoying and less friendly to both the viewer and runner of the game. When you play Mario Kart, you want to drive around the course and feel like you're racing around the track as fast as possible, not pausing 100 times to eke out every 100th of a second you possibly can. Does the enjoyment, fun, and cleanliness of a speedrun matter? I suppose that's something left to each his own. Beck Abney created a thread and poll on the Mario Kart forums asking for thoughts on pausing in Mario Kart 64. He originally proposed this: pausing during a run is not allowed unless the remainder of the run after unpausing is driven without moving the analog stick. For example, pausing at the end of a Bowser's Castle 3-lap run to prevent your ghost from being overridden would be allowed. This means that you could pause at basically a final straightaway before the finish line, but doing any action other than holding A to go forward after the pause would render the run invalid. This would prevent someone from abusing pausing to get perfect straightaway super mini turbos. However, the discussion in the thread generally seems to not be in favor of this proposal. The ghosts thing is interesting. On many Mario Kart courses, the game saves a ghost which you can race against in the game data. Drivers use these to gauge their pace and whatnot, but pausing mid-run makes it so the ghost does not save. So if you wanted to pause since you were going to beat a ghost of a certain lap 1 pace, for example, then this is definitely a legitimate reason for pausing mid-run. And the general mood of the responses seems that there are some valid reasons to pause mid-run, but we wouldn't want to see the game devolve to a point where pausing hundreds of times per run becomes the norm. And yes, before you suggest just using real time, how weird would it feel to use real time for a game like Mario Kart when the in-game timer is right there? This would solve the problem, but it just feels so wrong. So it seems as though there is a line somewhere, a line of too many pauses that the community doesn't want to cross, and they're just going through the process of finding out exactly where that line is. Having a really epic new record with one dramatic pause halfway through, where someone gathers their composure or answers a phone call, would make for a good story and exciting moment, and is something it seems most gamers would be fine with. And these are understandable reasons for pausing. But as one Mario Karter asked, if someone pauses during a run because of a phone call, do they need to provide proof that the call was very important before the PR is accepted? Ultimately, the question is, what's the point of the game? At the very core of time trialing in Mario Kart, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to get the fastest real time around the course, and the in-game time is just a byproduct of the process? Are you trying to get the fastest in-game time, seeing the timer on screen as some kind of score to compete with? And if so, at what cost? How many pauses are too much? Does fun, enjoyment, and what feels right in playing and viewing the game matter at all? This question has come up of late in Perfect Dark as well, another game where pausing sometimes doesn't waste time, and in many situations can be quite beneficial. You do lose your momentum if you're going full speed, but sometimes you're not strafing full speed and thus pausing becomes advantageous. For example, on the G5 level, usually you would deploy this cam spy, then later on as you're cracking a safe, drive the cam spy in a room to activate a cutscene. However, it's beneficial if, at any time you're not able to move full speed, to pause, select and drive the cam spy a little bit forward inches at a time. So when you're falling off this ledge, when you're opening a door, and pausing for the cam spy can warp you up this set of stairs. So all in all, a run of the G5 building has a ton of pauses towards the end and can look strange, confusing, or unfamiliar to new viewers who might potentially become new runners of the game. But it's not only the G5 stage where pausing multiple times does give a technical advantage. We see multiple unnecessary pauses on pretty much every level in the game these days. For example, even here on Rescue Perfect Agent, all the recent world record runs pause numerous times just to ensure they're in the right spot to lure this guard to open this door, and then again when firing a grenade launcher into the room to ensure they've shot it correctly to complete an objective. None of these pauses are necessary, nor do they technically save time. They just help you guide your aim and movement to complete a tricky objective. Another notable pausing situation is here at the end of Skedar Ruin's Agent on Perfect Ace's recent 104 record, for example. He pauses 18 times in the last 6 seconds of the stage, pause buffering to ensure that his shots are perfectly aligned on these spires and to ensure that he shoots as absolutely soon as he possibly can to complete this objective. You could beat this part of the stage without pausing at all, but even the early records from 2001 have at least a couple of pauses in this section because there's a technique with pausing which allows for a faster reload animation. So pausing is an integral part of Perfect Dark in-game timer single level speedrunning. But where do you draw the line? What if you had to pause 10,000 times in the final 6 seconds just to ensure you eked out every single frame possible to reach towards an optimized record? Does that matter at all? Is this a concern where pros and cons need to be weighed? The value of pursuing the fastest or best scores possible at any cost, weighed against the value of making a speed game interesting and watchable. As the records get more and more optimized, pauses in Perfect Dark speedrunning become more and more frequent, eking out every 1/10 of a second possible. And interestingly, activity in Perfect Dark in terms of number of runners is also at an all-time high. So maybe pausing tons of times in the world record speedruns isn't as unhealthy or unattractive as some might imagine. But who really knows? And of course, we could speedrun counting real time as opposed to in-game time, but again, it would just feel so wrong to look at the time the game spits out at the end of the stage and go, "No, in-game timer, it's you who are wrong." So there are some examples of pausing in speedrunning and situations where perhaps it should be banned, or perhaps it should be allowed and embraced. I'm not advocating one or the other, just laying it all out there, so I'm interested in hearing what you, the viewer, think. So let me know in the comments. Oh, and again, if anyone can dig up Mike TSA Damiani's Wind Waker 642 segmented run from 2005, that would be truly remarkable. Thanks for watching, wishing you all health, safety, and happiness. Stay true, and I'll see you in the next stream or video.